Hey, and welcome to Can We Talk? My name is Paula and I'm the host. Every week I invite a special guest to come and speak to me about their dreams or their talent and talk to me about how they plan to make their dreams come true. And today I have a very big heavy hitter and she's going to give me some financial blows on how I can make or how I can be better with my money and how I can budget better. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce Peta-Kay.
Hey.
So Peta-Kay, every time I invite someone on my show, I ask them one question. What's the dream?
World domination.
Okay.
No, I'm joking.
Okay.
That's partly a joke, but partly serious. I think for me, my dream is just impact. Anything that I can do that has an impact for me is just rewarding. So for me, it's just to be able to do what I enjoy, which I'm doing now at a greater scale, and just being able to help people to better their lives.
And to clarify, you are now a finance coach, right? So you've had a career change and you've decided, okay, well, you know what, this isn't really for me, but I like doing this and I like helping people. So talk me through about how you started. I know how you started, but for purposes of my channel, talk me through how you started, what was the motivations behind it, and again, your world domination, your dream. Where do you see your goal? Where do you see you developing in 5 to 10 years time?
Well, going back a little bit into how I got into it. So prior to what I'm doing now, I was a business manager in a dental firm, and it's something that the pay was good, but I didn't enjoy it. And it was getting to a stage where, do you know, you're dragging yourself to go to work. I was at that stage and I just really hated it. I'd been applying for lots of different jobs, even jobs that would pay me less, jobs that I was overly qualified for, simply because I just wanted a career change.
Yeah.
But nothing was working out. Like sometimes I get rejections or just air. So I'm like, yeah, this isn't really working out. So I remember it was around March last year. That's when I was like, do you know what? I can't do it anymore. Like, I'm just gonna resign, even though I had nothing lined up.
So you resigned with like nothing else to your, like, you just said, all right, you know what? Gonna give this up.
Exactly. Like I just got into my boiling point, and
That's a bold move.
It was a bold move. But the worst part was a week after I handed in my notice, it was a lockdown. And then it was like, oh.
So it's like you can't even apply for a job next week because you know people are getting cut from their roles. You don't know when you can get another job. So that was a risky move to take.
Definitely. And even with that, a lot of the places I'd been applying for, they were no longer hiring at that point. So it's kind of like, okay, you know, I'm just going to have to figure it out. But I think one of the things that made it a bit easier and less stressful for me was the fact that I knew that I had sufficient savings. So even if it took me a while to find another job, I wouldn't have to stress about that part.
Yeah.
And it was funny because like a lot of people would ask me, oh, because obviously when you're leaving a job, people assume you're going somewhere else. So like, oh, what are you going to do next? I'm like, oh, you know, I'm just figuring it out at the moment. You know, so a lot of people thought I was crazy. And I kind of just kept it to myself. I didn't really talk about it. So when I actually left my job, it was like, for the first time in months, I could actually think about my own life because my job was very, very demanding. It wasn't really the job where you just kind of leave it at work and that's it, which I wanted. I didn't want something that I have to take home, but it was that kind of job you have to take home.
Yeah, and sometimes like, it's one of those ones where work now becomes your life because you spend 40 odd hours a week. And then wait, if you have overtime, you're spending more time. So it becomes your whole life. So I kind of get what you're saying.
Exactly. And when you think about it, most of your active hours is at work.
Yeah.
So having that and being in a place you don't like, it just doesn't add up. So once I actually left, I was really just thinking about what do I actually want to do next? Because even leaving that job, I feel like I had a little PTSD when it came to working in employment. And it was kind of like, do I really want to find another job that I'm just going to hate? So I probably applied for like 2 jobs and I was like, no, like I just need to figure it out. And then I was just thinking about, you know, what are my skills? What are the things I'm good at? And I really enjoy working with numbers. That's probably the only part of my previous job that I enjoyed, the budget inside, managing the business. And I thought, you know, why not use my skills and what I'm good at to do something that's going to help other people? And even in my own personal finances, there's a lot of changes that I started to make because I started to realize as I was earning more, I was spending more. So in my head, it's like, this doesn't make sense. I should have more money, but I don't have more money because obviously I'm earning more, but I'm spending more. So there's a lot of things that I consciously started doing, like actually managing and budgeting my money, just being more disciplined and tracking my spending and starting my investment journey as well. So I thought a lot of these things that I've been doing, in my mind, is common sense, but there's a lot of people that don't do these things. So when the idea came to start my finance coaching business, I literally just ran with it because for me, I'm a planner. I like to plan and, you know, if you need me to plan for you, girl, I got you.
Yeah, because you were doing events organizing for a little while.
Yeah.
So this is what you like to do. You like to plan, you like to organize. So you had this idea, and then how did you just, like, did you have to go get qualifications? Did you just one day just wake up and be like, you know what? Today I'm going to be a finance planner and that's it?
Well, due to the nature of what I do, it's not necessarily something you need to have a qualification for. Okay. Like if it's financial advising, and even with that, you're not teaching people how to manage their money with financial advising. You're actually teaching them about products, like investment products or life insurance and stuff like that, which I have no interest in. So I thought, let me just do it. I have the finance background. I'm good at these things. It's my passion. So yeah, from that, I just did a lot of research into what are the things people struggle with when it comes to managing their money. And there was a common stream of things that I found. Like a lot of people don't actually have savings. Like they don't even have £2 in their account.
You saying like, I can't remember the stat you gave me, but you told me less than, I can't remember.
So it's 12.8 million households in the UK they either have £0 in savings or less than £1,500.
Damn.
Yeah. And just bearing in mind, you have around 67 million people in the UK and 12.8 million households. Most households has at least 2 adults. Don't even have that much in savings. So when I read that, I was like, do you know what? There's a time that I was right up in the statistics. So I can see why a lot of people do fit in that. And again, in school, no one teaches you how to manage money. A lot of us at home, no one teaches you how to manage money. Your parents just say, save, but no one teaches you how to save.
Right.
And things like that. So I thought, do you know what, let's just go for it. So that's when I started working on creating my finance 101 session. And it all kind of started from there. So I remember when I did it, it's like, I thought, is anyone even going to pay me for this? Are people going to be open? Because a lot of people, when it comes to your finance, it's something personal. And especially if your finances is not in a stage where you want it to be, it can be embarrassing to speak about these things. So I had that kind of, shouldn't I? But because I was so passionate about it, I was like, do you know what? Let me just do it. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. It's not the end of the world. My backup is I can find another job in what I was doing. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
At least the money's good.
Yeah.
That was like in my mind, my backup plan. So I remember I'd launched it the middle of June. Like I posted a video, posted it on my Instagram. That time I probably had like 300 followers because Instagram, I was not serious about that. So when I posted it, I don't know why, but I was so scared. Like I literally just ran away from my phone. And then after I checked it, like normally my posts wouldn't get too many likes, but I found that a lot of people like sharing it.
Yeah.
So many people like messaging me as well, like, oh my gosh, I can really relate to the video you posted. And I was like, okay, like I'm actually onto something.
Yeah.
And then from that, within like a couple of days, I had my first client book in with me. And from there, it's just been the past 7 months, like just ongoing progress. I've had more clients booking in with me. I now have clients that I'm working with for like the next 12 months. And I think for me, one of the most exciting things is just sometimes I have to remind myself that it's actually not been that long. And
because I literally remember calling you and we were speaking about it on the phone, and I was like, oh, you just started, and now it's been 7 months. Like, how does time just go so quickly?
It's true. But since starting that, honestly, it's been so rewarding. There's so many things that I have learned, and even just seeing how people think when it comes to money. Some of the things that people tell me, I'm just like,
are you going to tell us the most ridiculous thing you've heard? Are you allowed to tell us?
I can, yeah. Because obviously I'm not going to describe the person or anything like that. But one of the things that I've heard that I found was quite shocking, someone said to me that for them, it's like, as soon as they get money, they just, in their mind, they shouldn't keep it. Like, they should just spend it. And when I think, like, how can you actually think like that? You're always going to be broke. Like, if the first thing that comes to your mind is when you get money, let me spend it, you're always going to be in that cycle. And I think sometimes it's shocking to see how much people spend on certain things. Yeah. Like I had a client that in the space of 3 months, she spent over £600 on takeaways. So
I'm not going to lie.
Are you like
I'm
that?
Not gonna lie.
Can you relate?
I can definitely relate. Sometimes it just gets really long to cook. Okay, like I have the ingredients in my fridge, and I look at my fridge and I'm just like, you know what? Today's not that kind of day. It's a takeaway kind of day. But that takeaway kind of day becomes what?
A takeaway kind of week.
It comes a takeaway kind of week, then weeks, then months. So I get it. And it's so easy to spend money bit by bit. So £30 here, £20 here, oh yeah, that's fine. £10 here, oh yeah, that's fine. £15 here, that's it. But you don't really realize until at the end of those three, if you have to really calculate, if someone said to me, all right, Paula, put together how much you spent in these 3 months on takeaway, I'd be super shocked. So I kind of get it, but I think it's crazy because have you yet heard from a customer, like they'll be searching something on Google and then all the advertisements now are around that one thing they were searching about, and all of a sudden you want to buy that one thing. And I feel like that happens a lot, and that happens with me on food.
Food, really? I thought you were going to say clothes.
No, that happens with me on food, not clothes. It happens with me on food. Like if I'm interested in something or I want to make something, and then I don't know why I just get a notification about, oh, these restaurants are, I'm like, oh, why don't I just buy it? So I kind of get where that person was coming from. So how do you, if someone says to you, okay, well, like that person, I can't keep money in my account, I just have to spend it. How do you advise them?
I think the main issue is kind of thinking about, why do you think that way? Like, I know that we talk a lot about mindset and thinking positively, and I believe that to a degree. But I think a lot of us, in terms of how we spend money, is kind of based on how we were growing up. I find that when you were growing up and things were tough, you never had money, as soon as you start working, even if you're not earning a lot, just having your own money gives you that sense of like, you think you've made it in life. And then you start kind of spending more, and it's like, before you had to ask your mum for money, but now you got your own money.
You're not asking anybody.
Exactly. And you kind of start thinking, oh, but I can treat myself, you know, I can afford this. And then you kind of get into that cycle of spending, but not really being conscious of what you can afford. So typically I'd kind of like find out, you know, how they've been managing their money and why do they think they should be managing it that way. And I think for a lot of people, it's just a lack of structure. A lot of people don't actually have a money management strategy. Whenever I ask people, oh, what's your budgeting strategy? Or how do you manage your money? The answer is normally, oh yeah, I don't have one.
Yeah.
Or they have one in theory, but they don't actually stick to it.
So is this tailored more to people who have the extra spending? Because let's say, for example, you come from a low income household, right? And you don't have that much disposable income, right? Let's say you come from a household and you make 24K and you're supporting 2 other kids. Is it still possible to save money in that sense? I mean, of course you can save, but because you have 2 kids and you have responsibilities and you have bills, how does it go about for that kind of individual? Because for people who frivolously spend, I get it. Spending money on takeaway is not a need. It's like it's a luxury. But what about people who can't spend money on takeaways? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they have money problems.
100%. If you'd asked me that before, I'd probably say no. But seeing, for example, how my mom managed her money, like my mom was earning less than I was earning in my last job. But if we calculate savings and compare, my mom knew how to stack her money.
Okay.
So it's not really just about what you're earning. I think for most people, it's not what they earn, or they think, oh, I just can't afford to save. How many times I've heard that rubbish? It's so funny. But when we actually go through and break down, you know, their fixed expenses, their bills and stuff like that, people always find that even those that their salary is not very high, it's often a case of they're spending more than they can really afford to.
And you don't necessarily need to spend thousands and thousands of pounds. I mean, you don't need to save thousands and thousands of pounds. It can be like, what, £20 a month? Or
I'd say obviously as much as you can, but it depends on what you can save. But most people can save a decent amount every month, because a lot of the times people be like, oh, I think I can only save like 200. But when we actually go through the calculations and they realize what their income is after their fixed expenses, most people, the reaction is the same as like, oh, I actually never realized I had that much money.
I get you.
Because sometimes it's like, because you're spending something and you always end up at the same point, you just think, I just need more money. That's what everyone thinks. Who doesn't want more money?
Yeah.
Even if you're not working harder. We all want more money.
Yeah.
But again, sometimes it's just a lack of knowing your numbers, knowing actually what are the total of my bills. A lot of people don't know that. And again, if you're just kind of spending and tapping, and as long as it goes through all right, you're going to kind of find yourself in that same cycle.
So since your career change, what's been the most rewarding about it?
I think the most rewarding part is not having to dread working. Like, because that was one of the big things for me. Honestly, like, I'm not going to lie. Even times I'll be complaining, my husband's looking at me like, look at you, what do you have to complain about? But yeah, honestly, for me, it's being able to do something that I genuinely enjoy and seeing the impact of it. Yeah. Like in my previous role, there wasn't really much impact it would have on anyone besides making the business richer. Yeah. But with this, like, I've had clients that when they started with me, they had like £0 in savings and they were able to save like their first £1,000. Nice. So even with things like that, it's like, it's so rewarding. I can see the fruit of what I'm doing. And even like, for example, I've had clients that have been able to clear their debts already as well. And when I really look back, I'm like, it's not even actually been that long. And some of the testimonials that I've got is honestly like, it speaks for itself. So just seeing that for me, it's just like, it's my motivator, like to keep pushing and keep, you know, offering my services to other people. So when you mean by world domination as your dream, do you want to expand on that a little bit? Well, to be honest, like, I'm a serial entrepreneur by heart. There's so many things that I want to do, but right now I'm just kind of focusing on nurturing this. Like, this right now is my baby. So I want to get to a stage where I can nurture it and someone else can kind of do what I'm doing now. So there's a lot of other things that I want to do. That's why I say the world domination part. And honestly, I think when it comes to finances, there are so many people that just lack basic knowledge. Like when I think about like some people, they don't even know about how to build their credit score. There's people that kind of make this assumption that, oh, if I don't use credit, then I automatically have a good credit score, which obviously is not the truth.
Yeah.
And one thing I found as well is a lot of people get themselves into debt very easily. Like so many people are like, oh yeah, I'm just going to get a credit card to build my credit. But again, they have no strategy with how they're going to manage their credit card. So what was supposed to help them build their credit becomes damaging their credit because they use too much and then struggle to pay it back, which I've seen so many times. So for me, it's just educating people, allowing people to actually know how to properly manage their money.
Yeah.
So that, because all of us, we want that dream, we want to have a comfortable life. Yeah. If you ask anyone, you want to be financially free, you want to be financially stable. But the reality is, if you're not putting things in place now, it's not going to happen. Do you know what I mean? And I think for me, one of the key things that really kind of showed me the reality for a lot of people, like I have clients that are coming up to 60 now. And for some of them, they have debt. So even being able to retire at the age that they wanted, unless they start making those changes now, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So for me, it's just kind of really motivates me to kind of push other people and help people to kind of put the proper systems in place.
And do you believe, like, actually my question is going to be centered around if you regret leaving your role and starting your own business, because that's a lot of risk in that. And from what it sounds like, it doesn't sound like you regret it. But let's say if you're someone and you're not happy with life, you're not happy with your job, and you want to quit, but you're not sure, like, what kind of advice would you give them? Because you've been able to successfully do it. So what would you say to someone who's just like, okay, well, what do I do?
I wouldn't recommend everyone to just leave their job with no backup plan. I'm the kind of person, I'm not really a huge risk taker, but for me at that time, I just knew I got to that point where I really needed to do it. But I definitely say, like, if you want to leave your job, you just need to start putting things in place. There's no point leaving your job and you either got £100 in savings. Like, it doesn't make sense. So definitely start putting things in place. I remember once someone said to me, because they knew that I didn't like my job, she was like, oh, why don't you just like start a get out of my job fund, like money that you're putting aside to kind of...
Get out of my job fund, how?
Basically start saving money. So if I just decide to randomly leave, I can just
do you know what came into my mind? A GoFundMe?
Oh gosh, no.
Because people are going to pay you to leave your job.
Oh no, not a GoFundMe. I know people do GoFundMe for anything, but no, not that. But yeah, so even with something like that, it's like, it makes sense. Like if you do want to leave, you need to have an idea of what you actually want to do. Because I know a lot of people are not happy in their jobs, but you don't really know what you want to do.
Right.
So I definitely suggest like taking time to really figure out what do you enjoy, what do you actually want to do. And sometimes being in a job is good because it allows you to kind of leverage and have money to invest in the things you want to do. So there's no point I'll leave my job and I'll start something, but you don't actually know what you want to do. So I definitely say taking that time to kind of think about what are your strengths, what you're passionate about, and start putting things in place and then just go for it. But you need to have confidence in what you're doing, because if you don't, you're just going to end up regretting it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I feel like sometimes you hear a lot of people say, oh, if you're not happy, just do something you like. And it's literally not that easy. You have to put things in place. I guess my next question is going to be around your customers. And if you feel like, have you had any negative experiences or anything that you've, like any deterrents? That's the question. That's the word I'm looking for. So anything that where you start and you've been like, oh gosh, this is the part of the business I really hate.
Thankfully, I haven't. Like, I've had really, really good clients. And I think one of the great things as well is like most people that come to me are at a stage where they want to get serious about their finances. They actually want change. I think the only negative aspect I'd say is like people that come to waste my time. Because I don't really do things like, oh, free consultation, because of the nature of what I do, I already kind of know. Some people, they just want to kind of get free knowledge, and I'm not about that.
Yeah.
You have your job, this is my job. So
how do you do that? How do you, sorry to interrupt you.
No, it's fine.
How do you turn away people who want free knowledge? Because at the moment, you are an entrepreneur. So there's a way people will speak to you, and it's so easy to divulge information. So how do you tell people, well, actually, this is a paid service?
Well, for me, the way I see it is like, if you want free content, you can listen to my podcast, you can go into my YouTube and subscribe.
Right.
Or just follow my Instagram. But when people like ask me personal questions like, oh, I got this amount of money that someone gave me, I want to invest it. I say, oh, just book in a consultation with me. I think from the straight off the back, you kind of need to let people know your boundaries.
Yeah.
Because sometimes people, they'll try to take advantage. Like, if you're going to do something for free, no one's going to be like, oh, let me pay you. So for me, it's kind of like, oh, well, if you want to, then just book in a consultation, or I refer them to whatever service I think would be best. And then that's it. Otherwise, yeah.
And my last question on this topic is, what's been the hardest moment for you? Starting your own business. Literally leaving your job, starting your own business. What's been the hardest moment?
I'd say the hardest moment was probably the beginning. Was more like, is this gonna work? And I feel like once you put something out there, there's more pressure on your shoulders. People see it, and people ask, oh, how things going? And all that kind of thing. So I think for me, it was more the beginning stages of, what if this doesn't work? I've actually put this out there. It's everywhere. It's even on my Facebook. It's on my Instagram.
Literally.
So what if this doesn't work out? I think for me, it was that, because for me, I hate failing. I like to win. I like to do well in everything that I do. So for me, it was more that fear of, if this doesn't work, and then plus.
It kind of sounds like that quote, the hardest thing to do is to start.
Mm-hmm.
So once you started, you got that over and done with, and then you were able to just go full throttle.
Definitely. And I think for me, what keeps me motivated and going is just remembering the clients I've had so far, seeing the progress they've been able to have. And I think for me, what keeps me accountable as well is knowing that I'm having such an impact on their lives. Like, I can't just give up because things get difficult.
Right.
I have to keep pushing. There's actually people depending on me. There's people that I've committed to helping for the next 10 months or the next year. So I've got to be consistent what I'm doing.
Have you had moments where you felt like, I just want to give up now? Or like, it's a little bit difficult right now. I can't do it. In terms of the entrepreneur life and all.
In this, no, I haven't. Okay. And I think because of how in some sense, I can say the pandemic has helped my business, because a lot of people have now realized why they need to actually start managing their money better.
Right.
So to be honest, like, I don't have to like slide in people's DMs like, hey, this is what I do. Like, for me, that stuff makes me cringe, and I'm too proud. I'm sorry, it's not my business model.
It's not your business.
It's not my business model. For those that do it, like, even me, when people message me, I can't help it. I can't ignore people. I have to reply. Even if I'm like, sorry, not interested. I feel bad. So for me, it's like, because of what I do, like, people naturally just start gravitating. And I think one of the crazy things that I've learned from this is the power of social media. Like, I don't even have a big following, but a lot of my followers have become paid clients.
Oh, wow.
And even people that they don't know me, but they've been referring people, and the people book with me. Like, for me, that is one of the biggest mind-blowing things. It's like, you actually don't know me in real life, but you've referred people to me. Like, thank you. So, yeah.
So to the entrepreneur life, would you advise people, like, if you've got a dream, if you've got a plan, if you've got an idea, go for it, because you really never know where you're going to end up? Or would you say, you know what, take your time, figure things out? Like, what would you give them? How would you give them advice?
I'd say it's a bit of both. Like, you've got to know what you want, because I think a lot of people, the idea of entrepreneurship sounds great. Like, I'm fortunate in the sense that I've made money month on month in my business, but it's not the same for a lot of people. Okay. There are people that they've been trading for 1 year and they've probably had about 3 sales. Do you know what I mean? I'd say that coming into business, it can't just be because, I want to make $1 million in a year. That might not happen. You might not even make 10K. Do you know what I mean? You have to come into it realistic, but also, yes, you should have dreams, but you have to be willing to work even when things aren't necessarily going well. If you're the kind of person that you're going to start and then things get tough and you just say, this ain't for me, then being an entrepreneur is definitely not for you. Yeah. Especially when it's just you in the beginning. It can get difficult. There can be moments where you're like, this is long.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like work in general is long. Anything where you have to get up and work is long. But I guess you seem to enjoy what you're doing, so that seems to be a big motivator of why you keep going.
Definitely. I think if I didn't enjoy it, then it would be different. But obviously where I enjoy it, it gives me that push. Like, plus I flash back to my previous job and it's like, nah. Let me keep going. I enjoy this. Okay.
Well, in the interest of time, I want you to give us with one key thing that's happened to you during your journey.
Key thing.
It can be good, it can be bad, it can be anything, like something where you thought, you know what, this is it, this is my purpose, or I'm meant to help people, I'm meant to do something that gives back.
I think one of the key moments that I'll actually never forget is my first client. Like, once I did that, it was like, wow, like I've never enjoyed work like I was enjoying that session that I had with that person. And even just their feedback, a lot of the things that I went through, they're like, wow, like, I really didn't know any of this. And seeing the progress that they've made from that time, it's like, wow, like, I think for me, that was my light bulb moment. Like, yes, like, what you're doing, this is what you're meant to be doing. Yeah. Like, you can't divert from this.
You've got this,
I've got this, exactly.
Do you want to talk a little bit about your faith and how it's influenced your career?
Sure. I think for me, my faith has definitely, like, just for me as a person, my faith is one thing that drives me. And I think looking back, I've always been that kind of person. Like, even when I was like 10, I had my whole life mapped out. I was just that person. You know,
You were organized.
I was that person.
Oh my God, I hear it.
So, but I think for me, my faith gives me that confidence to do things. Like, whatever I'm like, yeah, this is what I want to do, I'm just going to go for it. Because I believe in what I'm doing. And I think having my own personal relationship with God, when things get tough, I know where to go to. It's like, okay, God's got me. Like, God's gonna help me.
Yeah.
And I just act on that. Because I think sometimes, especially what I've seen, which really breaks my heart, is that there's people that they have faith in God, but their life is a shambles. And it's like, that's not how things should be. And sometimes it's just based on the decisions we make, because we make poor decisions or we don't actually plan properly. So
it's like we have faith and we expect it. Yeah, God's got it.
Exactly. Oh, God's gonna do it. Oh, if it's for me, it's gonna happen. But like, babes, if you're not putting in the work,
You need to go get it, baby.
it's not gonna happen.
You need to put in the work.
Exactly. So for me, like, my faith is one thing, and that's why for me, like, I don't see limits. That's why I say world domination. Because even like, I had a goal setting event last month, and one of the people that bought a ticket, they lived in America. So I was like, oh, okay, be international, baby.
That's amazing.
That was one of the moments that I was like, oh.
Like, sometimes you really don't understand like the reach that you have until you're like, wait, damn, you from America?
Exactly. So even just like little things like that, it just shows me, like, just a little drop, like, there is actually no limit. If you are willing to put in the work for whatever your vision is, it can happen. But it's just having that focus and that continuous drive.
I'm gonna need you to say that again though. So what, if you have the vision, you can what?
If you have the vision, I don't remember what I said, but I'll say it. I'll say what I think I said.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you have the vision for something, like, you can definitely do it. You just need to have that drive.
You said anything can happen.
The focus. Anything can happen.
If you have the vision, you can what? Anything can what?
Anything can happen. And it can.
hear.
You just need to align your actions with the vision. The problem is, a lot of the times we don't. You have the vision, want to be millionaire, but you're not doing millionaire actions, babes. It's not happening.
Like, period.
I've always wanted to say that. So
you finally said it.
I said it, girl. I said it.
Well, thank you so much for taking out the time to come onto my channel and my platform. I literally cannot wait to see what you've got happening in 5 to 10 years' time.
Thank you.
And with that being said, thank you so much for logging in, watching my channel. Please like, subscribe, comment, all the YouTube stuff. And I'm going to see you next time. So thank you so much.